Welcome, everyone, to Mexican Crossing Lines with your hosts, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You're listening to 88.1 FM KPPPLP, Fargo, Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. And tonight, I have a question for all of my listeners and followers. Are you going a little bit COVID crazy? Because I think there's a lot of people out there that are getting that cabin fever or whatever you want to call it, being in close quarters with their kids, with their spouses, with their roommates is making people a little bit nuts. And we have to address and talk about how we take care of our mental health during an international pandemic. It's not paranoia if there's something really out to get you. And right now, that something is a deadly virus, coronavirus, COVID-19. So people are upset, People are very worried. Some people are panicking, but the reaction that people are having to the virus, to the stay-at-home orders, to the social distancing, all of those things are making people a little bit COVID crazy. That's the title of my show. We're going to confront the situation. We're going to talk about it. And we're going to make recommendations on how you can take care of your mental health during this pandemic. I also want to say that today we are going to do a little bit shorter of a show because I am working on something special. Yesterday, during my show, I had an epiphany of sorts, because I already knew about all of the COVIDiot activists, the mercenary conartivists that I have been exposing for the past 4 years in my work as an investigative journalist. And there have been recent events, including the pandemic, maybe especially because of the pandemic, that are laying bare and exposing things to me, allowing me to see a much more clear picture of how these COVIDiots operate, especially because we have a pandemic and they continue to be who they are. At their core, irresponsible, fraudulent clowns, idiots, COVIDiots that put people's lives at risk. And I am going to lay it all out for you in a simulcast, because we have a lot of people on our super chat that have been begging us to do a super chat. And hey, if you want to throw donations our way to keep us broadcasting through this pandemic, I have no problem with that. So without further ado, tomorrow we will be having a simulcast on super chat, and it's going to be a doozy.
It'll be a doozy. It's going to be on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. So if people can go to either place, I'd encourage you to go to YouTube. But there's some hardened Facebook streamers that want to stay on Facebook. You can stay there. We're going to be taking comments from YouTube. I'm not sure we'll be able to get them from Facebook. We'll see how it goes.
It's going to be a very eye-opening show. And the fact that these operators continue, these conartivists continue with their shenanigans during an international crisis of life and death, it just, it exposes how deeply disgusting their behaviors and their actions are. And I want you to see it like I am seeing it. So I'm going to bring you that special show tomorrow. And we started working on it yesterday, didn't we?
Last night.
We've been working on it round the clock. Folks, you are so fortunate if you have all of this extra time that you don't even know what to do with yourself, because Duke and I, we run a station out of our home, which means we're working around the clock now more than ever because people are desperate for the work that we are doing. I've had local businesses and organizations that can't do their outreach the way they normally would do face to face, and they're turning to us. These businesses and organizations are turning to us so that we can do broadcasting and reach people through our radio station that otherwise they would have to see in person because we have a pandemic. So please, I'm going to give you some suggestions today of things you could be doing, things I'd like to be doing myself. Like, for example, sending individual emails, messages of support and love to all of the first responders, the nurses, the doctors, the essential workers that are working in the grocery stores, that are delivering people, that are delivering food, and that are caring for our elderly in nursing homes. Personal messages of support and love to every single one of them because they need it right now. They deserve it, but more than that, they desperately need that kind of emotional support. They need for us to try to do for them what they can't do for themselves. That self-care, that time, that, they don't even have enough rest. They don't have somebody that's, many of them don't have somebody that's making their food so they don't have to think about it. And so that's what we need to be doing. We need to be thinking about the people that are doing the rescuing, the life-saving work, that are putting their lives at risk for us, and we have to step up to the plate for them. But I'm going to have more suggestions as the show goes on. I want to thank all of you for all of the crowdsourced information from around the world that you want to be broadcast on our station for the world to hear. And I also want to thank everyone for their support of nonprofit, local, independent media. Duke, how can folks support our work and follow us?
Well, you can follow us several places on Facebook, 88.1 FM Fargo Moorhead, the People's Press Project, and Mexi-Can. You can go to our website, kpppfm.com, and there you can find a lot of information about shows and stories we've done and a whole bunch of stuff about the station. You can also find a way to donate to our nonprofit radio station at kpppfm.com/donate. If you want to get a hold of us, we have a call-in line, a message line. It's 701-566-0917. Again, that number is 701-566-0917. You can email Cindy at kpppfm.com or me, Duke, at kpppfm.com. Also, our YouTube channel is Duke1517. That's Duke1517. And as Cindy said, we're going to try an experiment, simulcast on Facebook and YouTube at the same time to try to reach both audiences with a show that's really going to be a doozy.
I have been seeing more and more evidence of how people are going COVID crazy, and the escalation is making me worried. And of course, that is due to the precipitous rise in cases of COVID across the globe. Take a look at the numbers for the world. We are now over a million confirmed cases in the world. In total, right now, we are at 1,013,157 cases. Since, I guess it's changed.
It went up to
It's went up
2,000
in the
past
last 30,
hour.
not
Yeah,
even
30
not even an hour.
Yeah, 20 minutes.
In the last 20 minutes,
Wow.
it went up that much. And in the United States, we now have over 240,000 cases. We are at 244,320 cases and 5,897 deaths. What are the numbers in, by the way, New York is at 93,000 total cases and 2,373 cases of deaths. That's 154 new deaths since yesterday. It is really heartbreaking, the numbers of cases and the numbers of seriously ill people in ICU and who are also passing away.
No.
What are our numbers in Minnesota, Duke?
Our numbers in Minnesota is a total positive is 742. There's been 18 deaths, and there's 373 patients who no longer need to be isolated. Now in North Dakota, the cases are positive 159 people are positive, and there's been 3 deaths. And there was, I think it was 16 today that more positive, and a lot of them are in our county next to us, Cass County. Except there's someone in their 40s, and there's lots of people in their 60s. And so that's increasing in our area. It's been increasing a lot in North Dakota. The Supreme Court in North Dakota just ruled that evicting people has been suspended. Residential evictions are going to be suspended, and it means in Fargo, residents unable to pay your rent by the due date, you're not going to be kicked out of your apartment. The city cautions that you'll still owe the money, but you won't be thrown out, and the Cass County Court will not hold eviction proceedings for anyone. So you're safe to stay in your home, and that's a really good move, I think, with the government doing that, because the governor wasn't going to do it. In Minnesota, our governor did that. In other states, the governor has done that, but the Supreme Court of North Dakota stepped in to do it for the governor, I guess, because he wasn't about to do it.
Thank goodness. Well, there's no order to stay at home yet from our governor in North Dakota.
Yes.
And North Dakota is now one of only 5 states that have not issued stay-at-home orders. And, without that mandate, I don't think people are going to actually stay at home. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't bother you, here's something else to consider. This person that made this post created a table comparing North Dakota to Minnesota cases of COVID. And as you can see, that the current rate of infection is higher in North Dakota than it is in Minnesota, based on current ratios of confirmed cases for populations. For every 2 people who test positive for COVID-19 in Minnesota, there's 3.16 persons testing positive in North Dakota. These differences are particularly striking given the population density and thus the risk of coming into contact with someone who is infected is far greater in Minnesota than it is in North Dakota. And yet, North Dakota should have a lower rate, not a higher rate than Minnesota.
That's right.
And that's really, really frightening, especially living on the border of North Dakota.
Yeah, exactly.
The one, I guess, saving grace, I think, is that we don't have a lot of, crucial, essential businesses, hospitals, clinics, things like that on the Moorhead side, which I guess thankfully means hopefully not a lot of people from North Dakota are going to be traversing into our state for things. Mm-hmm. But folks, that means that if our state leadership is not giving us the direction that we need, if our city leadership is not doing it, we need to step in and do those things. Some businesses are making recommendations now into the public. For example, this sign just went up in the Menards in Iowa, letting people know that they will no longer allow children under the age of 16 or pets in the store due to the COVID crisis. If anybody goes into Menards in my hometown of Muscatine, Iowa, and you look under the age of 16, they're going to card you now at the door like it's a bar. What do you think of that, Duke?
Oh, man.
I mean, it's a good idea, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking, who brings their pet to Menards?
I don't know.
I guess they do have a pet section, but, it's not Petco. But I think it's great because we need places open. Most places will deliver, although Amazon's having a real hard time right now because they've had outbreaks in their packing factories, and they have a strike going on because they want better protection. I've been waiting a week and a half for menstrual pads to come to the house, and it's just or Q-tips and things like that. But we're not getting in for quite a while because those packages are coming slow. And so I think that when businesses limit the foot traffic, to smaller amounts of people, that's fine. They can still do commerce, still get what we need, but we don't have a bunch of people running around because it's really hard to shop in these places when there's a bunch of people in there. So I totally understand.
And we have a lot of folks listening and watching from Texas. So for all of the Tejanos out there, salutations from snowy Minnesota. I wanted to share with you guys that one of our listeners, Carol, mentions that in her community in Denver, Colorado, they've had their first death in a retirement community. And all the other household members are confirmed positive.
Oh,
Some
boy.
of those are old people that have no family and live on fixed incomes.
Yeah.
That is why it is now more important than ever for you to protect people that are vulnerable. What does that mean? People that are over the age of 50. People that have immunocompromised systems. People that have underlying conditions that put them at greater risk. Today, North Dakota's governor even suggested in his press conference that older folks, not even parents, not go out to the grocery stores or out in public places and send their teens to do the shopping.
Okay.
I don't know. To me, it sounded like a Hunger Games style tribute. Like, we'll send Timmy to the store.
Timmy.
And whatever you're going to do, I suggest that you have a designated person that goes in and out of the house, and nobody else is the one going in and out of the house. I'm talking about for mission critical travel, which is medical supplies, food, resources, things like that, important things like that. So, and the reason why we need to protect the people that are vulnerable is because, as Governor Cuomo, so and it was starkly put it in the media. If you end up with the COVID virus and you have complications because it is in your respiratory airways and your body doesn't have the capability of fighting it off, if you are put onto a respirator, your chances of survival are 20%. I mean, these are the cold, hard facts. In places like Guayaquil, Ecuador, bodies are not being taken away when they die. People are burning tires in front of their homes to force authorities to remove dead bodies from their homes. After 3 and 4 days, some people are just dumping the dead bodies outside, and they remain on the streets, rotting in the sun. This is what is going on in Ecuador. Folks, we have to do everything in our power right now to make sure that we don't have crises like that happening in our communities. And the way to do it is to stay inside. Reduce the persons that go outside to a designated person for mission critical stuff, and reduce the people that when you do go outside, stay the heck away from people. More than 6 feet away, more than 20 feet away, more than 50 feet away. Stay away from each other. Do not have prolonged contact with anyone, with nobody. You have to behave as if you have already contracted the virus. Okay, let's take a look at a COVID crazy person we had here in our community. A man was arrested yesterday evening after he allegedly coughed on an employee at the Moorhead Cashwise. Duke, fill us in on what happened.
Well, the police said that at 2 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon, they were called to the Cashwise 34th Street over here in Moorhead. And there was a man who had been coughing on an employee and began accusing other races of creating the COVID-19. So he was saying racial
slurs
to his employee.
Who was a black man.
Was a black man, and he coughed on him, and then he left, and the cops came there because they reported it, and they took him in on a disorderly conduct. And when he's in the car, he started threatening that he's going to cough on the officers and said
he started threatening their lives.
So they brought him in for terroristic threats.
So Derek Swenson has gone COVID crazy, apparently.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I've shown you cases of other people that are coughing on food, that are licking store shelves, that are, attacking Asian people. All sorts of COVID craziness going on, folks. In another, even more terrifying case, a Western Minnesota man stabbed his roommate in both eyes and then shot him 16 times.
And this is in Western Minnesota. I mean, it's very close to our community. So it was in Perham.
Perham.
And he was roommates, and it doesn't say in this story, but
they're quarantining, obviously.
Yeah, they're quarantining.
Because everyone is
he
in
was
the
looking
state.
for his gun. He says, "Where's my gun? Where's my gun?" And they got into a fight, and evidently he found his gun and stabbed him in the eyes twice, and then shot him 16 times. And they're filing murder charges, and they have him in Otter Tail County Court.
That was a mouthful, huh?
Oh yeah, it's Otter Tail.
I was horrified when I heard the story, because as people are going a little bit COVID crazy, their mental the mental state is not, they're not all there. Take for instance this man. He was going a little bit nuts, and he decided he was going to need his gun. He was panicked, looking for his gun, couldn't find it, and turned on his roommate.
Yeah.
So, as I said, we need to make sure that people are behaving accordingly, not going out, and taking care of their mental health. In an article released yesterday, they are suggesting that if you have coronavirus symptoms, you have to assume that you do have coronavirus, even if you get tested and the test comes back negative. Just because a coronavirus test that you don't have the virus, it doesn't mean that you aren't infected or infectious.
Okay, that makes sense.
Coronavirus tests can come back negative even more than once. So if you have the symptoms, a cough, a fever, the symptoms that are typical of coronavirus, losing the sense of smell and taste, the sore throat, all of that, stay in your home, quarantined as if you had the virus. Now let's talk about our mental health.
All right.
This is the important thing that we need to do. First of all, I'm seeing people, even in the media, kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
People aren't shaving. They're not washing their hair. People are not. By the way, I have some hygiene tips for all of you. If you're listening, and this is especially important, this is pandemic hygiene. Okay, you need to stay clean. This is no time for you to let your depression get out of hand, and for you to stop washing, and for you to stop maintaining your care, brushing your teeth. Obviously, you're supposed to be washing your hands, but you should be. The virus can hang on to your skin. It can go on your hair. It can get on your face. The CDC is recommending that men that usually have hair on their face remove it for the purposes of not spreading the virus to yourself and to others. So if you don't normally shave, you should consider shaving and being clean shaven and taking care of yourself, but also for mental health reasons. And it's important to have a routine, right?
Right.
Don't let the fact that the days are bleeding into each other and that nothing matters anymore because you don't have to go to work, make it so that you stop sleeping adequate amounts of time. You put yourself in a crazy pattern. Get yourself on a good routine. Go to sleep and wake up at reasonable times. Write a schedule for yourself. Put reminders on your phone if you have to. And that includes setting aside time to do some kind of meaningful, goal-oriented work. Just because you're home doesn't mean you can't do some things that are work. You can volunteer for nonprofits. You can do it from home. Lots of nonprofits, yours truly included, need support right now. And if you don't have other meaningful employment or gainful employment at this time, there's a lot of other people that could use your help. So set aside some time to do some work, to do some exercise, to do self-care. Schedule it out throughout your day. Number 2, you want to dress yourself for the social life you would like to have, and not for the social life that you are quarantined under. So you need to, put on some nice clothes. Make sure you're wearing pants. And everyone except for Duke should be wearing pants, okay?
So during this, I have to start wearing pants, I guess. Okay.
Yes, I mean, you have to dress for success. And especially, I'm going to make this recommendation to all of my media co-anchors and all of the people out there who are media in radio, in print. I guess print is basically shutting down everywhere. Mm-hmm. But in media work, especially on television, we need to see you looking like you got it together.
Yep.
And if you stop shaving, Al Roker, I'm looking at you. If you're sitting there in your college sweatshirt and your sweatpants, and that's how you're doing your work, if you're doing your broadcasts from your kitchen table in your pajamas, people in the world are going to feel more unsettled.
Anxious.
Yeah, you're going to make people anxious. You're going to make people anxious because you're letting yourself go to heck. Mm-hmm. Okay? You're letting yourself go. And so it's important for you to not allow that to happen. Also, it's really important for your mental health for you to be able to look at yourself and, a lot of how we feel inside is reflected on how we're taking care of ourselves on the outside. If I look at I always tell Nemo this. If I walk past one of my kids and they smell like they haven't showered, or they look like they're wearing crumpled up clothes they picked up off the floor, or they look like they are not combing their hair adequately or whatever, I'm like, I don't know what's going on in your life. It looks like you're depressed. I don't know what's happening to you, but I'm seeing it happen. It's manifesting right now on your clothes and your hair. Go take care of it. So to that end, make sure that you are taking the time to do these things. Take a bubble bath. Take an extra long hot shower. Put on bright colors. It's amazing how your looking good is going to impact how you actually feel and your mental health, okay? Get outside, breathe the fresh air in, even if it's only for a little bit. Try to get 20 to 30 minutes in. Stay far, far, far away, but get your exercise in. Go out in the early hours when nobody's outside, or in the late hours when nobody's outside.
Yeah, keep distance. And actually, here we have looks like a blizzard out there. We got a snowstorm moving through. So I wouldn't recommend. Well, maybe you want to go out there, but it's like you're gonna get covered with snow.
Wear snowshoes.
Wear snowshoes. But there's no one outside right now. I haven't seen anyone walk on the sidewalk. I haven't seen anyone driving down the street for a couple of days until today when the snow started falling.
Mm-hmm. Find time during the day, even if you don't go out, to move. Do some yoga, walk around.
Do some dancing.
Cycle, get on your back and do cycling in the air. Find a way to move around for at least 30 minutes every day. If all else fails, turn on some music and dance like nobody's watching, because they're not. Nobody is watching. You're going to be okay. Okay, reach out to others. Contact them via Skype, via Messenger, find one of those apps or make a phone call or a text so that you can check in on others. It's especially good if when you check in on others, you look at them. That way you can measure by how they look whether or not their mental health is okay or if it's kind of, teetering on the edge of COVID crazy. If you call your friends and their hair is all crazy and they haven't shaved and they look like, Rip Van Winkle, wake them up. So check in with your friends for at least 30 minutes a day. Find time, 30 minutes a day, to call all your loved ones, tell them that you love them, tell them that you care about them, and make sure to check in with each other. This is a time for you to overshare with your friends. How are you doing in the department of showering and eating and cooking and self-caring? Ask these questions. Find out how their mental health is. Find out if your friends are sleeping. Find out if, all of these things matter. And it's time for us to reach out and ask and take care of each other. Make sure that, of course, that you eat and drink enough water. Stay hydrated, eat well, and obviously get enough sleep. Develop a toolkit of things that you can use to, stimulate all of your senses, your touch, your taste, your sight, your hearing, your smell, your vestibular system, which is movement, and the proprioceptive system, which is comfort pressure, like a weighted blanket. You need touch. You need something that feels like touch. As a parent of an autistic person, Nemo has always been a person that doesn't like touch, especially if it's not solicited or if you don't warn them. And that, for me as a parent, has always been very, very difficult to understand and to process, because if I don't hug people, if people don't hug me, I get touch deprived. With what I'm talking about, touch deprivation. If you don't get regular physical contact, somebody loving on you, somebody touching you, you can get mentally depressed. You can get sick. So comfort pressure is necessary. Weighted blankets, like I said, something soft, something that feels nice on your body, something that, is like, a plush doll or something that you can put on your skin. So here's some ideas: a soft blanket, a stuffed animal, hot chocolate, photos of your vacations, slideshows. You can look at all your pictures, comforting music, eucalyptus oil, lavender oil, scented candles, smelly lotions, a swing, a rocking chair, a hammock, weighted blanket, heated blanket, having a journal, a vision board of the things that you want to do after the pandemic or that you want to achieve for yourself during the pandemic. Maybe you want to lose some weight during the pandemic. Maybe you want to organize all the stuff in your garage. You want to get for yourself some kind of toolkit that will make you feel good in all of the areas. So, some Listerine strips, some mint gum, ginger ale, frozen Starburst, ice packs, for anxiety, all these things, and make toolkits for your kids. Especially make toolkits for people who are non-neurotypical and or disabled and or unable to speak, like little kids, like toddlers, like little children. They know something is up. Yeah. The little toddlers, they know. The animals, the dog, the cat, they know what's going on. They know something is not going the way it's supposed to. They know something is bad. They know something bad is happening. And that anxiety, they can read your faces. They can see that you're worried, that people aren't going to work. So they're also feeling this anxiety, and that is going to manifest in the form of meltdowns. It's going to manifest in the form of tantrums, in the form of more crying. So you have to find ways to soothe each other, and especially you have to find a toolkit for those people that are the most non-neurotypical, not, they can't speak, they can't express how they're feeling in other ways, so that they can be soothed and calmed, and you can care for their mental health as well. Spend extra time with the kids playing, okay? I know for a lot of people right now, that is a lot to ask because you're freaking out, but you need to spend more time than you normally do, because children rarely are able to communicate, even if they can speak, how they're feeling. The way that they communicate what's going on, the turmoil, the scary, the all of that stuff, they do it in therapy, in play. I used to be a caseworker, and when I was in the social work field, we did a lot of play therapy with children to find out what they were worried about, what problems they had, what traumas they had. So right now, it is really important for you to play with your kids in order for you to have a benchmark to understand what they're going through mentally. Also, give each other the benefit of the doubt right now. Give your spouse the benefit of the doubt. If your partner, if your kid, if people are being a little snippety, a little more terse with you, if people are being a little short, or if they're saying things that you don't find funny, that they meant as a joke, give each other wide berth, give each other a break, okay? Because right now, people are a little COVID crazy. They're a little bit extra tense, right? So every person is going to have a way of dealing with it. Some people are going to blow up. Some people are going to go cough on your food at the Cashwise, apparently. Some people are going to do very extreme things, like the person that murdered their roommate. But as long as you can manage your anxiety and your mental breakdowns by crying or yelling at something or punching a pillow or screaming into a pillow or whatever, try to have some grace and try to give other people some space and some wide berth to get through these tough times, okay? Also, find a little space for yourself, a little hidey hole, even if it means that you have to make like a little fort out of blankets. I used to do when you were kids. Yeah. Try to make a little spot with cushions and scarves and stuffed animals or lots of pillows and maybe some of the Christmas lights in there, a spot that's a place for you to go away from your family, even though you're with your family and you're stuck with your family. Because right now, part of the extra strain and stress is not being able to get away, to go and be on your own, to have that moment of mental, meditation and just looking internally within yourself. So find a spot where you can do that in your home. Label it. This is Duke's spot. This is Duke's brain factory.
Oh, yeah.
Over here. This is where you give yourself that mental space, and then make sure that everyone else knows that here's my corner. This is my spot over here. Stay out of it, because that has to be your retreat. You need to create your own little spot, your nook, your retreat where you go, and it's only for you, okay? And do that for your kids, and give them a little spot where they can go and hide away from the rest of the family as well. You're going to have behavioral issues with your kids right now, as I was mentioning. So they're going to have, all sorts of feelings that they can't really express. What you need to do is to let them feel safe. Tell them what to expect, what's coming next. If you give them something to look forward to, if you give them a place that they can visualize what's going to happen, maybe you can make a little calendar for them and show them where we are. on the calendar what kinds of plans we have. 2 days until we Skype with Nana, or whatever. It helps people stay connected and have focus and be more stable mentally. Remember to focus on safety and attachment. We're going to be living for a bit with unprecedented demand of meeting our work deadlines, homeschooling our children, having a completely sterile household, making entertainment happen for the whole family during a pandemic when everyone is really, really bored and you're all confined in one space. So we can get a little bit wrapped up in all of that stuff, and we can get wrapped up in our expectations in all of this. We have to remember that these are scary and unprecedented times for children. So focus on strengthening the connection with your kids through the time that you spend with them, through physical touch, through play, through therapeutic books, through verbal reassurances. Lower your expectations for everyone and for yourself. Lower your expectation and practice radical self-acceptance of where you are right now. We're all doing the best that we can under an intense amount of stress and fear. So that's not going to be a recipe for success, right? So you instead of having all of this anxiety and yelling at each other for not meeting our expectations, what we need to do is practice radical self-acceptance, accepting everything about yourself in the current situation that you're in, your life. Don't question your life. Don't blame yourself. Try not to push back. You can't fail at this. There is no roadmap. There is no precedent for this. We are all truly doing the best that we can in a very difficult, if not impossible, situation. Limit your social media. When you are constantly looking at your social media and looking at the number of quarantines and deaths and job losses, and it can be overwhelming, okay? Especially around your kids. You can find tons of information on COVID that you can consume for a specific part of the day. Why we are doing the shows that we are doing daily on the coronavirus is meant to help folks to compartmentalize the information that you're getting and to limit it to one-stop shopping, because we're going out there and we're sourcing all of the things that are most important for everyone to know locally, nationally, and even internationally about what's happening with this virus. And if you feel like you have to constantly be connected at looking at social media to find out what that is, you're going to overwhelm yourself. And it's going to make you feel like you're panicking. So again, limit the amount of time that you are looking at that stuff, especially on social media. Notice the good in the world. Look for the helpers, as Mr. Rogers would say, and help others. Find ways, big, small, whether it's supporting local businesses, shopping for elderly people, writing psychological wellness tips for others. Find things that you can control and then control the heck out of them. If that's a project that you have in organizing your bookshelves or cleaning out your closet or reorganizing your underwear drawer, go for it. But find something to do and do it. And look into a long-term project. There's a honey-do list out there that I'm sure that you have been putting off. Oh, yeah. That is a big project that you could finish. Maybe building something you've been waiting.
Or fixing the dryer.
Fixing the dryer, for example, would be really good. Mm-hmm. But maybe, it could be something that's a little less, purpose-driven in the sense that it's going to be for our laundry. Yeah. Can you tell we have a broken dryer? Yeah. But you could also binge watch a season 8 of your favorite show, or read the whole Harry Potter series, or learn how to solve the Rubik's Cube. I don't know. But you could find a long-term project to keep you occupied. Find a goal, a long-term goal, short-term goals, set them, and try to be graceful with yourself in meeting them while having low expectations and just accepting where you are. Engage in repetitive movements. especially from left to right. Rocking, knitting, jumping rope, sculpting clay, bread making. Learn to bake right now. It's good. All of these things help soothe you. So find things to do that move you from side to side to side. Find an expressive art and go for it. Doesn't matter if you're not good at it. Pick something, whether it's singing, dancing, sculpting, drawing, playing an instrument. Find something that helps you creatively express your emotions and go for it. Share it with others. And most important of all is to find lightness and humor in everything around you. Cat videos on YouTube are excellent. Stand-up shows on Netflix. Maniscalco, the Italian comedian, is one of my favorites. I've been watching a lot of his stuff. And reach out for help if you need it. Don't be afraid to ask for therapeutic support if you're going a little COVID crazy. Schedule a teleconference therapist appointment with a psychiatrist, with a psychologist. Parents, if you're needing support from homeschooling or whatever else is making you feel overwhelmed, reach out to other professionals that can help you with that. Chunk your quarantine, okay? Take it like we are trying to get over an addiction, day by day, right? Don't think about the entirety of the pandemic, the magnitude, the length of time, how long you're going to be unemployed, how many people are going to die. Focus on today. Focus on the next hour of your life and get through that first. Chunk your time, break it down. It'll make it a lot easier to get from moment to moment. Remind yourself every day, this is only temporary. Our lives are not going to be lived under a pandemic and in quarantine forever. So remember that this will come to an end. Right now, it's very scary. It's very difficult. We don't know what's going to happen, so it feels like our lives are up in the air. And that's why chunking your day, chunking your time, chunking your quarantine is going to help you get through it. Remind yourself that this is only temporary. And look for the lessons that you can learn out of what is happening in life right now. There's a lot for us to learn even during the pandemic. When psychologists work with trauma, a key feature of helping someone work through that trauma is to help them find their own agency, the potential positive outcomes that you can affect, the meaning and construction that comes out of destruction, death, and mayhem. What can each of us learn here in big and small ways from this massive international crisis? What needs to change in ourselves, in our homes, in our communities, in our nation, and in our world? And focus on the good. And now for a little levity, I wanted to share with you one of the many things that we have learned. And that is, as people are downloading by the millions this application called Zoom so they can teleconference with family and work, they're finding that there are some huge security gaps in this program.
A lot of vulnerabilities in Zoom. And, everybody's using it right now. And it's some of the things one thing that's been happening, a phenomenon, is like, remember photo bombing? Well, there's Zoom bombing now. And what's happening is that there's been a lot of security issues in recent days. And people do a lot of open meetings where people can join. And people are going in those meetings and bombing them. And they're like, hey, they don't have anything to do with the people that are in those meetings. And they're doing that sorts of things. And they're doing profanity. They're doing disruptive things. There was a school teacher who had someone join their class who wasn't a student, and made rude comments and those sorts of things. And also, there's been
lots of pornography.
Lots of pornography. Also, there's vulnerabilities in which you're running a Mac that through Zoom you can take over the Mac's
of the other people?
The camera, and also have access to the hard drives, and also keystroke record all your keystrokes as you're logging into your bank account and paying your bills. So that's a really dangerous one. And what people have been advised to do, Zoom put out a patch. You got to do the updates on Zoom right now. If you don't, you're going to be vulnerable, and taking care of some of those things, but not all of them. So it's still so many people using Zoom, and yet right now it's people aren't that tech savvy aware to do the updates or to get the newest version and do updates. But Zoom is working on it because the tech world is really focusing on this, and the FBI is even looking into it.
Remember when people used to jump on the party line?
Yes.
And then they'd be like, and then they would prank you, and they ask you, "Is your refrigerator running? Well, you better go catch it."
Yeah.
You know, things like that. Well, this is Zoom bombing is on another level, and a lot of it is pornographic, and you know, it's dumpster humor, it's toilet humor, it's sexually inappropriate pranking. So, although I found some of these stories quite funny, I really can't share any of them except for this one one video, which we actually had to edit because the more pornographic content does enter the picture at some point in this video. But this is an example of Zoom bombing, and this is for a class. Incidentally, it's titled "Diseases of the Mind."
In relation to any case or anything involving insanity in Ireland, and we saw that that act expanded the McNaughton rules.
Do I care? Ask me, do I care? Do it. Ask me. Ask me, do I care? No one cares about automatism. What is that?
Who is that?
Who is that? The teacher says. The teacher is like,
Who is that?
"Who is that?"
What are they doing here?
And it just goes downhill from there.
Oh, yeah.
It just goes downhill from
we
there.
couldn't play what actually happened next.
But, you know, in the time of pandemics, you're going to have a lot of people that don't know about the security breaches and don't know how to use technology. All of the Italian priests that are forgetting to turn off their filters or activating their filters automatically are giving me life.
Yes.
I love this new form of mass.
It's the kind of mass you want to go to.
Definitely. So, folks, lift each other's spirits right now. Take care of each other's mental health. Stay safe. Wash your hands. And keep it tuned to 88.1 FM, KPPPLP, Fargo Moorhead, where we are adding local color to your airwaves. Thanks for being with your host, Cindy Gomez-Schempp.
And Duke Gomez-Schempp.
You've been listening to A Mexican Crossing Lines. Please join us on our next show and have a great evening.